Hello, it's Jane. Welcome. And I'm sitting on a block. If you've got one, that's great. If not, a book will do. And if you've got a cushion handy, then get yourself comfortable sitting down. Take a big breath in, reach your arms over your head. And as you breathe out, bring the hands to rest in your heart centre. Now, you don't have to sit like I'm sitting with the legs crossed. It might be more comfortable to have the legs outstretched or in a different way. But then just let the hands rest on the tops of the thighs. And you can choose to have your palms facing down or your palms facing up. Now, it's said that if our palms face down, we are containing the energy. If we have our palms facing up, we are ready to receive energy. Let your body decide which feels the most comfortable for you. And then we'll settle in. So first of all, just listen to the sounds in this room. And then let your awareness travel a little further to the sounds outside the room, maybe just outside in the garden or in your street. And then see if you can notice sounds a little bit further away. And now come back to the sound of your breath. Noticing your inhale, noticing your exhale. And getting acquainted with the breath that will lead you through the practice today. Now when you're ready, we're going to come over onto all fours and take our first pose, which is child's pose. So I'm just taking a traditional child's pose. I'm going to get comfortable first, sitting the hips down to the heels, and I'm going to rest my forehead on the block. You could use a blanket or a cushion. Or indeed you could just lift your hips higher and just maybe come up onto the forearms. And child's pose is a nice way to begin this practice. Make sure that you feel comfortable with any shape that you're in, because we're going to be here for a little while. And in this practice where we hold the poses for just a little bit longer, then we start to minutely shift that connective tissue that can hold us stiff and stuck. And this type of yoga, yin yoga, also has a meditative effect on our minds. And in this practice, the theme is patience. And as Lao Tzu said, he's the ancient Chinese philosopher who's credited with writing the Tao or the Way. He said, I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, and compassion. These are your greatest treasures. And that phrase sums up yin yoga. We practice patience with these simple poses. We patiently wait, and we show compassion to ourselves, so we don't want to feel anything that's painful. But we can allow ourselves a little mild discomfort as we work through this to nourish our minds, our bodies. And it's a good way to notice in the meditation any parts of the body that are feeling sensations most prominently in each pose. And just notice, as you watch patiently, how these sensations will change with time. Trees that are slow to grow bear the best fruit. So this practice is slow, but it can be very bountiful. So let's just stay here for a little while longer. Now on your next in-breath, slowly start to take some weight into the hands and come all the way back, feeling that rebound effect as the body's released. And then we'll take some cat-cows, so we'll lower the belly to the ground, look all round the back, and we'll move each shape with the rhythm of the breath, and then stretch out one leg and stretch out the other. Just give the backs of those legs a nice stretch out. Allow those sensations to be felt. Now we're going to come to a butterfly pose. There's quite a few variations. You can put your block or your book between the soles of your feet. And then just lower the head towards the heels. Now if it feels uncomfortable, you can take the block away. You can also do this just lying on the back and taking the soles of the feet together. Or if you don't like folding forward, you could take the weight of the body in the hands as you just lean back. And just allow the area around the hips, the groin just to soften. Now tune in to that place where you feel the sensations most prominently. And just allow whatever shows up. Nice pose to remind ourselves of the 3 pillars of Yin Yoga: time, stillness, and edge. And we begin with the edge. That's that first part in our shape where we start to feel the sensations, but they're not sensational. And we settle here with patience. We cultivate stillness. And then the 3rd pillar is time. We just allow him with patience, that connective tissue, to gently release itself. The connective tissue that's become tight around our bodies through age, injury, lifestyle. And then we just allow whatever shows up. And we just observe it with equanimous mind. Nothing is good or bad, it just is what it is. And this is a great practice to cultivate patience in any challenge, allowing ourselves to develop that grace, the calmness, the equanimous mind. So I'll leave you here just a little while longer, knowing that if you feel pain, you can always move slowly out. Wherever you are, take a big deep inhale and a long slow exhale. If you're lying on your back, slowly come up to sit. If you're facing forward, walk back, and we'll all end up with our hands behind our back, and we'll take our feet as wide as the mat and windshield wiper those knees slowly side to side. Now we're just going to find our way back to hands and knees. Take a few more cat-cows, inhaling lower in the belly, exhaling round in the upper back. Maybe stretching out those legs again, just like we did before. It's always nice just to add a little flow into our yin, to get that chi, that life force, that prana moving around the body. And then our next pose is dangle pose. So you can come to downward dog or make your way to standing at the front of your mat. If you're in downward dog, just gently walking the hands towards the feet. Now, a few ways to do this. Dangle pose, we could take the block on its longest side, on its lowest side, and just bring the floor up to our hands. We don't want to go too low. Keep a deep bend in the knees. If it makes you dizzy, just place the hands on the thighs, bring the head level to the heart. I'm just going to use the block and see how that goes, and then maybe I'll find that it just feels nicer, just allowing my body just to relax without that support. And it can be quite nice just to take the opposite elbow with the opposite hand. Nice gentle release for the whole back line of the body, from the heels, up the spine, the base of the neck. So keep the head heavy to release any tension in the neck. A few more deep breaths here. And then just bend the knees so much that the hands can find the floor. And then back to a downward dog if you'd like to, or just stay, just bending the knees. And then we're going to meet up in all fours, our table pose. Might just take a few more cat-cows if that feels good. And then we're going to do two poses that work beautifully together on the hips. The first one is dragon pose. So I'm taking a cushion underneath my left knee and sending my right foot forward. And this is the first option, just sitting with the spine upright and just sinking into the hips a little. Or then maybe just letting the weight of the body just rest on the thigh. That can really get into the hip flexor. That might feel a little too juicy, so we could take some weight onto a block. So we're going to put the hands in between, and we could take the little toe edge out of the foot. So it's like kind of on an edge, and put our arms on the block. That's a little bit too much for me. I'm going to go back to this halfway house where I'm just settling the hands on my thighs and then slowly, inch by inch, letting the body roll forward. And I'm using that block, you can use a book, and bringing the floor up to me so I don't have to go too low. And that just gives me a nice edge around my left hip flexor. And you might find that quite quickly that you can go a little deeper into this pose. So moving the block down to the next setting. Now I find this a really challenging pose. This is probably the most challenging yin pose that I practice. So it's a really good way for me to cultivate patience. And patience, according to the Buddha, is sitting in the present moment with our challenges, without any expectation, without any fighting, and crucially without ignoring, just being aware. I'm aware that I can probably go a little deeper, so I've taken the hands away from the block. So always cultivating that edge. And I'll leave you here just a little while longer. Now we need to come out of this pose very carefully, so walk the hands back, slowly, slowly release. Draw the knees together. Squeeze the knees and the thighs together, a way to reset the pelvis after it's been split apart a little while. And then we're going to move on to the other side. So I'm putting the cushion under my left knee this time, taking that left foot forward. Now, I'm just seeing this side might feel different, so try all the options, sitting upright, allowing the block to come down or a little lower. There's so many different variations of dragon pose. And not only do all our bodies change, but also the sides of our bodies will change. So come to that first edge where you feel the sensations, but they're not so painful that you need to move. And then find that stillness, edge, stillness and time. So we've found the edge, we're going to become still and remain for time. When we cultivate patience, we can't be patient by hiding our impatience or trying to be patient or wanting to be patient. Instead, it's a state that naturally arises within. So notice what's happening inside in the mind. Are you thinking of the past now or the future? Patience is found in the present moment as we sit fully aware of what's happening right now. And every time your mind wanders, nice little way to stay focused. It's just like we did at the beginning. Just become aware of sound. Sound of your breath. Sounds inside the room. Sounds outside the room. All these things that are happening right now. I'll leave you here for a few moments longer. Now taking one more big deep inhale, one slow exhale. And then moving very, very carefully with the support of the hands, feel your way gently back to that position on hands and knees where the knees and the thighs are squeezing together. Really squeeze the knees and the thighs together. And then we're going to move into the next one, swan pose. Now after you've done these two poses together, you'll really find some space around the hips. So slide the right knee towards the right wrist. You might need the block underneath the right hip. I find the cushion is a better option for me. You might not need anything at all. And then slowly just allow the body to soften. So we've got that same line that we had in our child's pose where the head is level with the heart. And I'm using the block. You can use a book or a cushion or another blanket just to bring the head a little higher off the floor so I'm not folding too far forward. And then let's cultivate the patience here. Breathing nice and slow and deep. And each pose is like a little place to stop off at, to really notice what's going on Each pose very different in sensation, the way we breathe, the way the mind feels as we begin. And then slowly, as that patience unfolds, we cultivate that equanimous, that balanced mind that is quietly aware of what's happening without that urge to be anything else other than where we are in this body right now. I'll leave you here on this side for a little while longer. Taking one more big deep inhale, one more slow exhale, and just finding the weight in the hands to lift you gently up, sliding back to all fours. Maybe just sitting the hips onto the heels just for a moment or two in your child's pose. And then we'll come to swan pose on the left side. Now this swan pose is also known as pigeon in yang yoga. That's where we move from one pose to the other a little more quickly. So imagine a sleeping swan now, graceful, relaxed, elegant, and just sink your body into the support beneath you. This time, just see how the muscles in the face feel. Is there any tightness around the eyes and the jaw? How's the jaw feeling? The tongue? Could you possibly add a hint of a smile to the corners of your mouth to relax all those muscles in your face? Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. I'll leave you here now for a little while longer. taking those big deep inhales and exhales and sliding yourself up on an inhale. Sitting the hips onto the heels for a child's pose. And then we'll meet up lying face down on our mat as we come into Sphinx pose. Now the first option, if there's any niggles in the low back, is to take downward facing Shavasana, just resting the head onto the forearms. The next option is to take those elbows underneath the wrists, make a shelf for the chin, or take the elbows underneath the shoulders, those arms like train tracks, rest the forehead on a cushion or a block, or you could move those blocks or cushions out of the way and do this propless. So this is the classic Sphinx pose. So see now if you can relax all the muscles below the pelvis. See if you can let the belly soften into the ground. Now we need a little bit of yang energy, a little bit of muscular effort to just hold the shape around the shoulders. But see if you can soften as much as possible here. Again, coming back to that soft smile onto the corners of the mouth. And now we're ready to cultivate patience here. Resting in this pose without any expectations, without fighting or resisting, and without ignoring anything that's showing up. And as Edmund Burke said, our patience will achieve more than our force. So this is a deceptively challenging practice. The shapes are very simple, but staying in them for time is much more challenging. And now a reminder of the words of Leo Tolstoy. The two most powerful warriors are patience and time. So I'll leave you here for a little while longer. Now taking one more big deep inhale, one long slow exhale, and then we'll all meet up in downward facing Shavasana, making a pillow with the hands. And as we shift shapes, just notice how we feel. Then taking some weight into the hands, and just back to that child's pose as a counter pose for the spine. And our final pose before we relax, going to be legs up the wall pose, but I'll give you a few options if you haven't got a handy wall beside you. So option one is we just lie down on the back in constructive rest pose with the feet wider than the hips and the knees falling into the center. Or inhale, lift the hips up, place the block underneath the sacrum, and then just let the knees come into the chest and let those legs dangle in the air. That's a way of doing legs up the wall pose. You can alter the placement of the block to its edge. Oh, that's too much for me. I need to go back down. Or, even better, shuffle along to a wall. So sit by the wall with the hips very close, and then just turn round, lie on the back, and just let those legs be supported by the wall. And as we come, if the legs are in the air, into an inversion. Another simple way to change this pose is to place a little bit of weight underneath the soles of the feet to keep you grounded. So although there's not much weight in this block, there's enough that I can feel a sense of groundedness. And you can use any position with the arms by the sides, on the belly, over the head. And as we turn our world upside down, we allow ourselves a change of perspective. And just noticing how it feels to do nothing. Remembering our patience will achieve more than our force. Now, my style of yoga, when I teach yoga, I'm not really interested in teaching complex shapes or fancy shapes. There are teachers who will show you how to do those. The way that I teach is I want you to feel better at the end of your practice than when you started. And the more you practice with me, the more you will cultivate this equanimous, patient mind that you can use off the mat in your daily life. Each little practice plants a seed of calmness, of patience. And we may find that our bodies respond by feeling better, feeling more at ease. So rest here for a little while longer. Now you can stay in your legs up the wall pose for relaxation if you like, or you could just slowly come against the wall, or if you're lying on your back with the block under the sacrum, I'll just show you how to do this one. Inhale, just slowly lower the legs down to the ground, press the feet into the earth, lift the hips and remove the block. And then we'll rest in our relaxation pose. You might want a cushion under the head, a blanket over the top, or you might just like to rest here comfortably. And then let's relax the body, beginning with the soles of the feet. So just bring awareness into the soles of the feet, relaxing the toes, the heels, relaxing the tops of the feet. Let go of any tension in the ankles and calves, and the knees and the shins. Relaxing the thighs and the hips. Take a big inhale, and as you exhale, feel that softness come in the spaces you've opened up in the hips. 2 more like that. 1 more. And then relax it. Lower back, middle of the back and the upper back. Soften the belly, chest. Relax the shoulders, the arms, fingers and thumbs. And just notice any sensations in the palms of your hands. Taking your awareness to your head. Feel your head supported by the ground. Notice any sensations around the scalp and the forehead, down the eye sockets and the cheeks, relaxing the jaw, the throat, the centre of the tongue. Maybe invite that smile back to the corners of the mouth so you can relax all the muscles in the face. Resting here for time, in stillness, with no edge at all. And I'll read you this poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Patience Taught by Nature. Oh dreary life, we cry, oh dreary life. And still the generations of the birds sing through our sighing, and the flocks and herds serenely live, while we are keeping strife with heaven's true purpose in us as a knife against which we may struggle. Ocean girds, unslackened the dry land, savannah swords unweary sweep, hills watch, unworn and rife, meek leaves drop yearly from the forest trees to show above the unwasted stars that pass in their old glory. O God of old, grant me some smaller grace than comes to these, but so much patience, as a blade of grass grows by, contented through the heat and cold. So rest here now, contented, nothing to do, nowhere to go, for a little while longer. Now slowly begin to deepen your breath. Maybe beginning to gently wiggle fingers and toes. Possibly stretching the arms over the head, giving yourself a nice long nourishing stretch. Drawing the knees gently towards you. Give yourself a nice squeeze. Rolling over to one side. And then making your way to a comfortable seated position. Sitting on a block or a book if you'd like to. Crossing your legs or straightening them out in front of you. And then closing your eyes. Noticing how you feel. Take a big inhale, draw the arms over the head, bring the palms together. As you exhale, bring the palms to rest in your heart center. And just noticing. And then when you're ready, opening your eyes. Thank you for joining me. See you again soon. Bye.